against Bill Clinton, the economy was experiencing nearly a year and a half of 18 months of consecutive economic growth, each month. And in the last full quarter of the term of George Herbert Walker Bush, the economy grew almost 3.8%. That's flying. Yet in October 1992, the month before the election in November, according to Investors Business Daily, it looked at a variety of front-page newspapers in America. The ones that talked about economic news, 90% of the headlines were negative, even though America was in a period of economic growth. In fact, the majority of Americans thought that we were in a recession. Now, this is very important. Election takes place. Who wins? Bill Clinton. Investors Business Daily looks at the same newspapers they looked at a month earlier to find out whether or not the tone of their coverage of economic and business stories had changed. And boy, had it. It had gone from 90% negative to 14% negative. Now, what could possibly have happened between October and November to make these newspapers report the very same data very differently? And the answer is not a damn thing other than their guy won. So, the desire to cover the news negatively went away. Their guy won. So now let's cover the news positively, which is what we should have been doing in the first place. Then, therefore, the positive economic growth gets attributed to their guy. Now, the same thing is happening here, except in reverse. The news on the coronavirus front today marks 500,000 coronavirus deaths. And CNN, MSNBC, and all of them are, of course, marking this very important and very dreary, scary, sad milestone. However, Dr. Marty Makary, professor at Johns Hopkins, wrote an op-ed piece in the Wall Street Journal, and he says COVID cases have dropped 77% over the last 6 weeks. And the drop is far too steep, and the vaccinations have not penetrated us anywhere to that degree that it could be attributed to the virus, to the vaccines. As of this week, 15% of Americans have received the vaccine. The figure is rising fast. But the point is, there has been a substantial drop that preceded the vaccine that cannot be attributed to the vaccine. There's also more good news. Studies of both the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines are saying that they're working even better than expected. And they're suggesting dropping the 2-dose requirement in order to get more people vaccinated faster. Pfizer says its vaccine is 93% effective in 1 dose, but only 94% effective if taken twice. Not much benefit for the second dose. If that holds up, that means we really have almost twice the supply as we thought we had, which raises all sorts of questions about why the hell are schools still closed. Now, unemployment is falling. You wouldn't know it by the news. I'll tell you why. Because this good news is happening so quickly after the new administration, it cannot be attributed to anything the new administration has done. It therefore must be a consequence of what the old administration did. They can't give Trump credit for anything. So it can't be that Trump was right, that we ought not shut down the economy. Trump was right, that this at some point is going to go away, almost like magic, which is what he said. These experts are stunned. It's fallen so fast. And it turns out it doesn't matter what the state did. whether there was a draconian shutdown like California, which brake slammed our economy, or whether the state more or less kept open like Florida. The numbers are about the same. In fact, they're better in Florida when you consider the average age of a Floridian is older than the average age of other states. And the older you are, the more likely you are to have comorbidities, and therefore the older you are, the more likely you are to be susceptible to coronavirus. So really, Florida did better. This does not fit the script. And now that we're tossing around numbers like 1.9 trillion like nickels, the media do not want the news to be so good that there will be energy not to pass this $1.9 trillion bill that's full of pork. So for all those reasons, the media has a vested interest in making things sound worse, in making the coronavirus news, good news, put on the back burner, so that they gin up more energy, more anxiety, more fear, more trepidation for this $1.9 trillion so-called stimulus package. Biggest stimulus is to let people go back to work, open up the schools. And they're falling all over themselves trying to figure out how they're going to justify hammering the Trump administration for not following the science, for not believing 2 + 2 = 4. When you have the World Health Organization saying in-school learning is better. You have the CDC saying in-school learning is better. You have Dr. Fauci saying it. And still, we're not doing it because they want to pass the $1.9 trillion package first because of all sorts of stuff that they say is necessary for the schools to operate effectively. What happened to the science? Have you heard about this woman who works at Smith College? She was an alum from Smith College. She now works there as a staffer. And she says essentially she's had to undergo training to make her feel guilty as a white person, to make all white people feel guilty. And she puts out a video. They are in lawsuit. And she's put out a number of videos about the oppressed environment. Cancel culture. I'm Larry Elder.